Our final art projects for first grade involve two things. One of them is your art sketchbook and this craft project, which we'll talk about together in just a moment. Let's start first with your art sketchbook. The last page has a prompt here for you that says, design a tree house. So you can use your imagination. If you could be an architect and create your own tree house, what would that look like? What kind of things would you include in the tree house? What would be the way you would get into the tree house? Would it be a ladder? Would there be a series of ramps to get inside? Once you're inside, are there different parts to that tree house? Are there bookshelves, like the Magic Tree House has bookshelves and all kinds of books inside? Would there be other items or belongings or toys that you might put inside that tree house? You can use your imagination and get very creative and create your own tree house. Then let's go ahead and take a look at our second project, which is this star page and the gray page. They go together, so you need both of those pages in order to complete the next project. The next project is actually based off of two real things that are in Hollywood. Maybe you've seen this for yourself in person, or maybe you've just heard about it, but if you haven't, no problem, I'll explain it to you right now. In Hollywood, there's a very interesting area where the sidewalks have interesting pictures on them. So you can walk along the sidewalk, but as you're walking along, you're going to see some really cool things. Part of it has stars, and it has the names of some famous people. Maybe they were actors or singers. They could be part of the movie industry or TV industry. So that part is called the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So they have this series of stars with somebody's name, and it's all along the sidewalk. And you can find many different streets where the sidewalk right in the center of Hollywood have all of these stars. And then another interesting thing is that there's another area where there's a very famous theater, and outside on the front area of that theater, the sidewalk also has some interesting decorations, but that time it has handprints and shoe prints of the famous people. So I'll show you some examples of what this actually looks like in Hollywood. So here's one of them. And here you can see that the star says Mickey Mouse, and then it also includes a picture of where that person or what that celebrity would be known from. And here it's showing that Mickey Mouse has appeared in movies. That symbol right there represents movies. So even Mickey Mouse has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Let's take a look at another one. This is the name Walt Disney. Walt Disney is the artist and the creative behind Mickey Mouse and, of course, Disneyland. This man was so creative and imaginative, and so of course he made many movies. We know that there are a lot of Disney movies today, and it started here with Walt, and actually his brother too helped him out. So they actually both have stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But these are just two of many stars. So the sidewalk actually is filled with stars, and people are just walking along the sidewalk. I mean, there are buildings all around. There's a street, cars can drive by, and there are all of these different stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, the second one I mentioned to you that has handprints and shoe prints looks a little different. Okay, so here's an example here where this is a sidewalk, and you can also walk along this one, but it's a much smaller area rather than the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But this one's still really interesting because watch, you'll see that there are handprints and these shoe prints, and it's signed by the person with their name and the date in which they created that for them. I want you to notice one thing though. Please notice how sometimes these shoe prints, you can tell what kind of shoe that they were wearing. So look at here, you can see these bold shoe prints. But also notice here, this one's different because it has kind of like an oval shape and then just two small dots at the back. Also, you see that right here, two oval shapes and then just a small dot in the back. Can you think about what kind of shoe might have created that kind of print? If you think about very fancy or elegant shoes that a woman might wear, those high-heeled shoes where the back of the shoe has a very tall piece, but is usually very narrow, very thin and pointed, that kind of heel, those high-heeled shoes, create this very small print. So you can tell that this person here was wearing high heels as well. She was here as well. But then these ones, you can probably guess those are probably shoe prints for a man. Okay, so what we're going to create is kind of a combination of these two. We're going to use the idea of a handprint and then also the star that we would have seen on Hollywood Walk of Fame. So let me show you what that's going to look like for your project. To start your project, you'll start first with your star. Each of you received a star, and to create a handprint, you can use a couple materials depending on what you have at home. If you have black crayon, or you have a black colored pencil, black marker, or if you actually do have washable paint at home and you want to do a handprint using paint, you can choose to do that as well. You're going to put your handprint inside of the star. So if you are tracing your hand, you're going to place your hand in the star. Try your very best to make sure all your fingers are fitting inside. And then you'll trace around your hand, or you can have somebody help you at home and they can trace your hand for you. It doesn't matter which hand you choose. So you're going to have somebody, or you yourself are going to trace your hand and then color in your hand. So you're going to have a black handprint right in the center. Either that's going to be using a crayon colored pencil or marker that you actually color it all in. Or if you have paint, you're going to remember, we've done a lot of handprint projects at school where I would put the paint on your hand. You place your hand down and then use your other hand to press down on top to really make sure the paint comes off of your hand and gets onto the paper. Then hold the paper flat and pull your hand up straight. That's going to be a good strategy for your handprint. So you're going to have your handprint here. I would recommend using black. It looks really nice if you do that. Once you're done with your handprint, then you're going to cut out the star. I would recommend leaving the black border. I think the black border looks nice, but that's your choice. If you want to cut off the black border, you can do that as well. So you're going to end up with a black handprint and the star that's been cut out. Okay, so then you're going to take that. Once that's completed, you're going to glue it onto this gray background paper. I'm going to draw it on a board so you get an idea of what I am explaining here. Okay, let's imagine that this is my yellow star with my handprint inside of it. And then one thing that is important is actually to make sure that your gray paper is in a portrait or going vertically, rather than right now it's horizontal, but for this project you're going to want to turn it. So you're actually going to want your gray paper to be nice and long, like a portrait. Okay, so that would be like this here on my page. Okay, so then once you have your star glued onto your gray paper, you're going to glue it on somewhere in the center or even a little bit higher, but that's kind of your choice. The only last thing that you're going to do is to sign your name, because also in the example that we saw of the sidewalk, the gray sidewalk, they would have their handprint, their shoe print, and also they would sign their names. So what you're going to do is you're going to sign your name here along the bottom using really nice handwriting. I would maybe recommend still using something that's a black color in order for it to show up very well. So it could be that you write it in pencil first and then trace over it with a black crayon, black colored pencil, a black marker, or if you do have black paint, you can write it with pencil first and then trace over it and paint with that black paint. Might look really nice that way too. So you can choose if you want to use, some students have just wanted to use their first name and make it really big along the bottom, which is great. Some students have also chosen, because they were following the example that we saw, to use their first name and their last name. So you're going to use first name and last name, write it really big, not teeny tiny right down here, but nice and big so you can easily see that. So for example, if I were to do mine, I would make it really big here along the bottom. Well, I don't have space for all the letters of my name, but I'll just write it like this. So I would make it nice and big so it looks like it's just like that sidewalk where people can easily read it. And then you've created your own very special version of the Hollywood Walk of Fame because you have done such great work in first grade that you are getting recognized for all that you have done.